Good afternoon, everyone. Uriel Came here, founder and CEO of Healthpreneur. We are talking about 10 principles to increase your sales in today's tactical training. So without any further ado, I've got my decaf coffee. I don't know what you're drinking today, but let's dive into this. All right. So first and foremost, if you are watching me live, type live into the comments below. If you're watching the replay, hit replay in the comments just so I know. And let me give you a little bit of context for what we're going to be speaking about in this training. Number one, if you want to enroll more clients, you need to be good at sales. Now, there's obviously, I think, a right way to do sales and a wrong way to do sales. None of us, especially health professionals, enjoy selling in a way that feels overly salesy, icky, pressury. And that's not what this is about. That's not what we teach our clients. That's not how we do things. And so if you're someone who wants to help more people, you have to first and foremost understand that selling is serving. But how you sell is very important. So I want to give you a couple things in this training, principle-wise, that I think are just really solid foundations to improve your ability to get more people to say yes to working with you. So we're going to cover a couple things, why obsessing about your program early on in your business doesn't make a lot of sense and what to focus on instead. I'm going to talk about the O word that determines the success or demise of your business. We're going to look at why selling isn't actually selling. I'll show you what it is instead. And then I'm going to talk about the mirror effect and how to ensure you attract the right prospects into your world. Because if you attract the right people into your business, it's a lot easier to enroll them. As an example, I just got off the phone with a couple clients, and one of our clients, husband and wife, they're doing just amazing right now. Very, very specific, peculiar market. I won't say what it is just to keep it a bit more anonymous. But we're just speaking literally like just before we got on here, and they're generating 12 calls a day from their pipeline, at like ridiculous numbers, enrolling hundreds of clients in their program. It's just amazing to see how all that happens. But the thing there is that they're very clear about who they are. And when we talk about the mirror effect, they're very clear about who they are and who they are not. And as a result, the right people come into their business. So we'll dive into that as well in a second. Okay, so without any further ado, I actually had some slides, but for some reason I couldn't find them. This is actually a live, I did this presentation live for our Luminaries Mastermind in 2018. It's crazy how long ago that was, even though it seemed like yesterday. If you want the actual video from that live training that we did in Los Angeles, just type sales into the comments below and we'll send you a DM. If you're watching this on YouTube, you got to be inside the hub to get the stuff. So make sure you go to the link in the description, go to the Healthpreneur Hub and hit us up in the comments here with sales, and we'll hook you up with the training. I think it's like 45 minutes. And it goes into 20 principles. So I'm going to give you 10 of them here. If you want the additional 10, we'll hook you up with that video. Okay, so without any further ado, let's dive into this. So principle number one is that the best product doesn't win. The best known product does. So when I say product, I mean insert whatever it is you're selling. Insert your brand. You could be the world's smartest, most accoladed health professional on the planet. But if no one knows who you are, you're not going to succeed in terms of growing your impact in your business, etc. And it's very important to understand this idea of obscurity. So I talked about the O word that can lead to the demise of your business. That O word is obscurity. McDonald's doesn't make the best hamburgers, but everyone knows who they are, right? Coca-Cola obviously doesn't produce a beverage that's beneficial to anyone's health, yet everyone knows who they are. Starbucks, I call it the glorified milkshake factory, doesn't make the world's best coffee, yet everyone goes there all the time. And this is the importance of being present in your marketplace. So although this is less about sales, this particular principle, it's more about marketing. The better you market, the less you have to sell. Because if everyone sees you all the time, when they are, ready to work with you, they're already indoctrinated. They've already been drinking your Kool-Aid, and you don't need to high pressure sell them. When no one knows who you are, when they don't know how you do anything or what you do, then you have to be the one selling them over the phone or on Zoom or in person. And that leads to a situation that a lot of us don't want to be in, right? Where we're having to explain ourselves and convince someone, as opposed to them coming into you, into your world, already pre-sold. And now it's a much easier conversation. So the first principle is the best product doesn't win, the best known product does, AKA the better you market, the less you have to sell, which is why you have to learn how to market. You have to learn how to create demand. It's very important. Principle number 2. So this is a bit more of this is obviously like in a conversation itself. A sale always happens, always. So either they buy your thing or you buy their story about why they can't do it. Now, I want you to write these down. And this one might be one of the most important. If you're on the phone with someone and they're like, yeah, this is amazing, I just need to think about it. And you're like, okay, cool. You've just bought the story. You've just bought the story, okay? If you're on the phone with someone and they're like, oh my God, this is amazing, but it's a bit more than I can afford. And you're like, okay, you've just bought their story about why they can't do it. And this is where you have to, as someone who cares about helping other people, you have to build your skill of salesmanship. You have to learn how to have difficult conversations, to overcome objections, to sniff out bullshit answers, like some of the stuff I just gave you. And listen, like, there are times where people legitimately want to think about it, but they don't need a week. Give them 5 minutes. People know, we know it's a hell yes or it's a no. It's very simple, right? So you have to get very good at being able to get uncomfortable. And earlier I said, selling isn't selling. What selling is it's coaching. In our worlds, we give our clients a whole training and script around what we call the coach to close process. Coach to close, not sell to close, not high pressure close. Coaching is about having a conversation that gets to the truth, that mitigates all the BS and the surface stuff. And we get to situations where, and again, it's not always easy, right? It's uncomfortable sometimes, but the reality is that we lie to ourselves all the time, and people you're speaking with are lying to you all the time. This is more money than I like. I don't have the money to pay for this. Really? Do you have an iPhone? Right? Do you have a computer? Do you have a car? Do you live in a house that you purchased? Right? Like, remember that you have to understand that we vote with our wallets. And when someone says they don't have the money, either they don't believe you in terms of they don't believe your thing is going to work for them, or they don't see the value in it in terms of like, it's not that important to them. Like, it's not a priority for them in their life. Really simple. Okay. So a sale always happens. Either they buy your service, your product, whatever it is you're selling, or you buy their story about why they can't do it. Okay. Third principle, make your intentions clear. When you are having a conversation with a prospect, right away, tell them, here is the intention. Here's how this call is going to go. So we're going to have a chat for the next 30, 45 minutes. My intention is to ask you a few questions to work out if or how I can help you. If I can't, I'll let you know and point you in the right direction if I can. And if I can help you, I'll let you know exactly what that could look like. Fair enough? So in the first 30 seconds of a call, you've told them, here's my intention, as opposed to beating around the bush and they're thinking to themselves, well, when is the pitch coming? So let people know, we all know at some level, there has to be a transaction somewhere, right? Like, how do you run a business if you're just giving away free advice forever, right? So the earlier you let people know what your intention is, the better it's going to be, because it's going to reduce the friction and resistance they have. And it just alleviates the pressure, like, when is the pitch coming, whatever. And the other thing that it allows you to do, I think people appreciate honesty. There's actually a study done, and I'm gonna totally butcher this, so do not quote me on this. And they asked people if Again, like I'm not even giving you the right stats, so I'm not even gonna make this up. So essentially the essence of the study was, would you rather someone be nice to you but bullshit you, or someone be a little bit more direct but like give you the truth? And most people chose the latter, right? But you have to disclose that in such a way where it's beneficial to the prospect. Okay, so it's not just about you. It's not like no one cares about what you have to offer. It's about them. But let them know, like, yeah, I have something to sell, but I don't know if it's right for you. I'm going to ask you some questions to work out if or how I can help you. If I can, I'll let you know. And if I can't, I'll point you, in a different direction. So make your intention clear early in the actual sales conversation. Okay. Principle number 4 is qualify with hard questions. This is one of the most important skills that we want to develop. As I mentioned earlier, right? Coaching as opposed to selling. Coaching is about asking questions. It's not about giving advice. It's not about telling. If you are on a call and you are spending most of the time speaking, you lose. Plain and simple. You have to ask questions and zip it. Now, when you ask a question, what successful people do in sales is they go deeper. So as an example, what do you want to achieve in the next 6 months? Oh, I'd love to lose 20 pounds. Okay. So that's like a questionnaire type of answer. Like if you went to a doctor, like they're filling in the intake form, that's that type of question. But what you have the opportunity to do in a conversation is ask questions like, well, why is that important to you? What does that allow you to do that you can't currently do right now? Tell me more about that. Who else benefits from you losing this weight? What happens if nothing happens? What happens if you don't lose the weight and you stay where you are right now? And why is that a problem? Is that something you'd rather fix? Like you can see I'm going from surface level to like P1, P2, P3, P4. Like I'm going deep into the surface, under the surface. And this is the key. You have to get to people's reasons why. And this is what I mean when I say qualify with hard questions, is getting uncomfortable and saying, why? Why does that matter to you? Why is that important? Are you really committed to making this happen? Right? Like this is what great coaching will do. And I promise you this, no one is going to berate you for challenging them because you're not calling them out, you're calling them in. You're getting them to open up so that you can create a relationship of trust whereby they feel comfortable doing business with you. And you can obviously get a sense of whether you can help them in the first place. If someone doesn't give you any, if they're giving you one-word answers, like what are you supposed to do with that? Like you can't have a conversation like that, okay? I think we're at principle 5. Always agree with the buyer. Always, okay? You cannot come to a place of agreement from a place of disagreement. I've tried it with my kids and it doesn't work. So you're on the call, you introduce the price, person's like, man, that's expensive. You're right. But so I'm clear, compared to what? I need to think about it. Hey, I agree with you. I mean, you totally should think about it. As opposed to, what are you talking about? You crazy? You can't, it's too expensive. No, it's not. Well, really? I mean, maybe for you it's not. For them it might be. So you always have to agree with the buyer. Always. Because you cannot come to an agreement from a disagreement. It's very simple. When you agree with them, all of a sudden it kind of catches them off guard and they're like, what? You agree with me that it's, whatever? So whenever you're dealing with an objection, you don't always have to agree and like, I agree with you, acknowledge them. Okay. So what we talk about is empathize and isolate. So I understand you want a couple moments to think about it. So that's the empathy. Other than needing to think about it, is there any other reason why you wouldn't do this? So we want to isolate the objection so we can talk about the real situation. Okay. So we're agreeing with the buyer, we're empathizing with their situation, because if we don't, then we break rapport and there's nothing that can happen from this. Okay. This one's a big one. I think we're at 6. Principle number 6 is that the buyer or the prospect makes a decision before you do. think about the last time you were in a conversation with someone, mentor, coaching program, or looking at buying something. You probably made a decision to buy or not, most likely to buy, before you even had the conversation. You knew that you wanted to do this with a couple caveats. What's the price? What are the details? Blah, blah, blah. But you're just looking for a couple confirmation points. Your prospects are looking for a couple confirmation points along the way. Now you have to ask for the sale. So in some cases, the perfect scenario, and just let me have a sip of this. What is this? This is a shaken espresso decaf. My wife was like, "You'll enjoy this." So I'm like, "Yeah, it's pretty good." I just got some ice in my teeth. Okay. So the ideal scenario is you have a conversation with someone and you ask them, so just before we dive in, what's happening with your health that prompted you to book this call with me today? And why me specifically? And they're like, "Oh my God, I've seen your stuff all over. It's like, I've been following you for years." At this point, if that person is that hot in terms of like warmth to you, great. Have you seen enough to make a decision to get started? They might say yes, right? You don't even have to have the rest of the conversation. Have you seen enough to get enough start? Have you seen enough to get started? Do you have enough information for us to get started right now? They're like, "Yeah, cool. I just want to chat with you for a couple seconds." Easiest sale of all time. Now, is that going to happen? Most often not. But throughout the call, you want to be asking for the sale, and you want to be using questions that, as you get toward the later part of the conversation, give you a sense of how warm this prospect is. Because what you don't want to do is you don't want to go through the whole call, and then at the very end, you're like, "I have no clue where this person is in terms of, do they want to do this? Do they not want to do this?" So you can ask a very simple question, which is, let's say you've talked about your program and like how it benefits them, et cetera, what they get. You could just ask them, so out of curiosity, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being, this is exactly what I've been looking for, 1 being, I wouldn't even do this if you paid for it. Where do you stand right now? The person might say 8. Great. What would make it a 10? And all of a sudden now we can start to clarify some of the gaps and kind of fix some of the things that might be missing for them to make a decision. So anyways, again, as a buyer, we're all buyers and we're all sellers, right? But in a buying environment, when we are buying or when a prospect's buying from you, we usually have a decision that's kind of pre-made and we're just looking for confirmation in that conversation, right? So if you can provide that to them, that's obviously going to be a very good thing. Okay, principle number 7 is always use third-party touches. And what I mean by that is use social proof as much as you possibly can. So when someone books a call with you, the easiest place to do this is before you speak with them. You want people to make a decision to work with you before they speak with you, like we just talked about. So how do we do that? Give them information ahead of time so they come into your call informed. This is why in the Perfect Client Pipeline, you have to watch a webinar before booking a call with us. And if you didn't watch the whole thing, guess what? Before the call, here's the replay. Make sure you watch it so you have full context about how we can help you if there's a good fit. It's the same with our clients, same with you. Like, you don't want people just booking a call with you with no understanding of how you do what you do. So number 1 is inform people about your process before you speak with them. Second is use testimonials and social proof once they, again, in order to book the call, but also once they've booked a call. If they book a call now and the call's in 2 days, give them material that reinforces the decision they want to make, which is to work with you. Testimonial, case studies, social proof, testimonial videos, anything you can use to build up the level of, I believe this person can help me in their head. So that when they show up on the call, what ends up not happening, ideally, is, yeah, I need some time to think about this. Because what they're really saying is, I don't actually believe you can help me. That's the truth. So do all of the objection neutralizing before the call by providing third-party testimonials anything that's going to increase your credibility, authority, and believability that you can produce results for those clients before the call, so that the call ends up being a one call close instead of a several week process. Number 8 is people do business with people they know, like, and trust. And this goes back to the first thing I mentioned, which is the better you market, the less you have to sell. This is why selling to cold prospects, like they've never heard of you, and for instance, you cold call them or send them a cold email, is very hard. It's not impossible. It's very challenging though, compared to someone who's been on your email list for 5 years. I've been getting your emails every week. Love it. They already know you. They like you. They probably trust you. That sale is very easier. And this is why it's so important to be omnipresent in your marketing, which means being everywhere and all the time. This is why running ads is so powerful, because like right now, as I'm speaking to you or doing this video, we have hundreds of ads that are running. And if I take a day off, those ads are still running and they're adding value to someone somewhere in the world. And that's a very, very cool thing to have. So the more people see your stuff, the more value we attribute to things that we see more often. So just you showing up over and over and over and over again, the more valuable you become in your marketplace. And thus, the very fact that people see your face increases the KLT score, know, like, and trust. It's a very, very important thing. This is why the goal of business is not to get a quick win. It's to build a business that lasts decades. Because I promise you, your first 2 years in business are your most challenging. You stay in business for the next 20, 30, 40 years, you won't even have to sell. You'll be like, yeah, it's $20,000. Here's the button, go buy it. That's the point where you can get to. But it takes time, right? And you have to build that KLT score. KLT being know, like, trust. Okay, principle number 9. This is a big one. We talk about the mirror effect. I alluded to this earlier. Whatever objection you have in your mind right now, or something you believe to be true, is what is going to show up in front of you. If you believe your program is too expensive, like if you fundamentally believe there's an issue with charging $3,000, for instance, to help someone lose weight, let's just assume that's what you're doing. You're going to get that coming right back at you. You have to have conviction around what it is you're selling. This will lead into the final principle in a second. But if you are someone who looks at everything else and is like, that's too expensive, this person's a scam artist, you're looking like there's always like there's these global beliefs like people are evil. What's going to happen is you're going to attract that same energy to you, and you're going to have prospects that are like, I don't trust this person, right? Oh, I've done stuff like this before. I got scammed. It's another one of those. Or it's too expensive. You know, when you go to a restaurant, do you order something based on the price, or do you order something based on the fact that you want it? I'm not saying don't be smart with your purchases, but what I'm saying is consider the conversation happening in your mind. Catch yourself. Oh, I could never afford that. Do you say that? Do you have an internal dialogue that is running that type of framework of, I could never afford that. That's too expensive. People who have a lot of money are bad people. You got to catch yourself with these beliefs, because these beliefs are emitted into the world and they come right back at you. So when you say like, yeah, I've had 30 conversations and everyone's like, it's too expensive, the first thing I'll tell my clients is, what do you believe? And they might say, no, I don't really believe it's too expensive. I'm like, really? So that leads me to the final and the 10th principle. Again, there's 10 more if you want them. Just type sales into the comments. We'll send you the live training. The 10th principle to increase your sales is certainty sells. The more certain person is going to close the least or the lesser certain person. So if you have more conviction around your solution than the prospect does around their story, you will win. And when you win, they win. Because if you let them go, you let them down. If you don't know how to close a sale, assuming you're speaking to the right fit client, I want you to remember this. You're being selfish and you're doing a disservice to them. Now, if you know that person is not the right fit, then conversation's finished. But if you know you can help them and they're like, this is what I need. I don't care if you're selling whatever it is you're selling for $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, even if it's $100,000. You need to understand that you are always undercharging, because what you're doing to someone's health is priceless. If you think that someone's going to transform their life and they're going to pay you a couple $100, it's crazy talk. Okay. It's crazy talk. And never feel bad about charging what it is you want to charge. Because if someone doesn't, let's just be honest, right? Let's say you charge $3,000 for a 12-week program that's going to transform someone's health. Is it possible that they have spent more than that on a 1-week vacation at some point in their life? Is it possible that they spent more than that to go to school? Is it possible that they spent more than that on a flat screen TV? Yes. And once again, what that means is either they're full of shit and they don't really want what they say they want, or they don't believe that you can help them get there. And I'll tell you this, guys, you don't need fancy scripts if you've got conviction. Think about religious cults. It's conviction. People blindly following people who are crazy because of their conviction. Now, I'm not saying we're building a cult of wackos here, but conviction is everything. And I can listen, like if I listen to a call, right? The other day I was listening to a short call, and the person on the call was like, maybe, I don't know, you're done. Go, please. And I use this example all the time. Go make lattes at Starbucks, or build your skill to be way better at what you're doing, because there's no conviction there. No conviction. And if you're speaking like that with prospects, there's no way they're going to believe in you, right? You have to come across with confidence. People want to do business with people who are confident, because when your prospects don't know what to do, they have to rely on someone else to show them how. Here's an example. Let's say that we're about to climb a mountain together, and you have two choices of a Sherpa. So you've got Sherpa number one, who's like, yeah, I think we can make it to the top. I've done it a few times. It should be okay. I think we can do it. And then you've got the other guy who's like, here's the deal. You follow me. Not only will I get you to the top, I will get you to the top and back and back and back. No problems. No issues. And you're like, okay. And what if that Sherpa's never even made it up the mountain? Maybe that's obviously irresponsible at that point. But the thing is, we can sense weakness. And when you are wavering, you've lost the sale. For instance, we have a number of clients who work with natural fertility. And the enemy that they're up against is IVF, which we know is ridiculous, doesn't work, statistically, very low outcomes, very expensive. Yet, hundreds of thousands of women will choose IVF and drop $20,000, $25,000, $30,000 compared to working with someone on the more natural side for a fraction of that. Why is that? It's because we have a global belief in our minds that whatever the medical doctor says is gospel. It is the way it is. So if you are in this marketplace where you have this medical profession that is like the pedestal of anything they say goes. Remember in the 70s when they told us to smoke, right? People don't think. So what you have to counter that with is not only social proof and not only all that stuff. You have to be able to speak with someone and be like, listen, if you consider IVF, you are crazy. But if you work with me, I promise you, we will get your results. Can I guarantee that? No, neither can IVF. But my success rates are 10 times better what they are. But what I can promise you, and I can promise you this, is that we work together, we put your body into an environment that is going to be so much more receptive to conceiving. Like you just, whatever. It's not so much what you say, it's how you say it. It's the subconscious subliminal conversation happening. It's the nonverbal communication. It's the body language. It's the tonality. It's the conviction. If you've got no conviction, you got to check yourself. Okay. Nothing else is going to help with that. Okay. You have to believe in what you're doing. You have to have confidence, because when people are confused and they don't know what to do, they're dying for someone who knows what they're doing. We will cling on to someone who's got confidence and certainty every day of the week. Okay. So those are the 10 principles. I'm not going to repeat them because I kind of forgot the order in which I even mentioned them. But if you want 10 more, the full 20, type sales into the comments below, and we'll send you a DM with the full training that I did live in Los Angeles a couple years ago. You get this stuff dialed in, guys, you're going to enroll more clients, you're going to make more money, you're going to help more people, and you're going to deal with a lot less frustration. Cool? If you guys have enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up, give it some hearts, share it, do whichever, if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, yada, 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 you know the deal. Anyways, that's all for today. Hope you've enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.